Happy lunch hour, gang. All right, I want to do something that's not done in our schools anymore. Hell, you got most of the kids that graduate college can't tell you where Washington, D.C. is. I mean, I kid you not. I mean, I was in the Army with the guy, granted, this was almost 40 years ago, was insistent that Washington, D.C. was in Washington State. Okay, you'd see all these man on the street interviews. Usually they're NYU students because obviously they're going to interview people in New York where the news studios are, and people can't point out the United States on the map, let alone Ukraine or Israel or something like that. Okay, but I want to give you this one. This one is kind of different, okay, because we haven't had this happen in a long time. We all know that we have a criminal entity in the White House right now, in the Joe Biden administration. Okay, there's no question the guy's a crook. Okay, there is no I am not a crook. Biden's like, here I am, yes I am. Okay, if you go on the other side, okay, there's plenty of morons who think Trump is a crook. Okay, chances are, unless one of them dies, okay, that the two of them are going to be on the ballot a year from now. We also know that Robert F. Kennedy is going to be on the ballot. Okay, he's running as an independent. If you've looked at any of the recent polls, okay, Kennedy's now up to 22%. Biden's at 39%. Trump is at 36%. This is overall over the whole country. So I'm not, who knows if they did more people in California or New York or more people in Kansas and Arizona. I don't know. Okay. But national polls lately, you can say whatever you want about polls, and I know saying Hillary Clinton was going to win. I'm giving you that, but bear with me here. Okay. The poll numbers aren't the important part of this. If Biden's got 39%, Trump has 36%, and RFK has 22%, who knows what Cornel West is going to get, but I mean, they're out, okay? But if we have a serious third-party candidate, Trump and Biden are so close. Do you know what happens if Kennedy actually gets some electoral votes, actually wins a state or two? Okay. A lot of moderate Democrats are pro-Kennedy, anti-Biden. A lot of rhino Republicans are pro-Kennedy, anti-Trump. I mean, you've got three sides to this. You've got the far left, you've got the middle, and you've got the right. Okay, I won't say far right because there is no far right candidate. Okay, so you've got liberals, you got communists, moderates, and conservatives is what you have running in next year. So let's say, for example, neither Trump nor Biden, who are the two leaders right now, get 270 electoral votes. Do you know what happens? Okay, for all the talk that you hear out of the Democrats all the time, we've got to save our democracy, our democracy, our democracy. And I remind them again, we are not a democracy, okay? We are a constitutional republic. A democracy is mob rules, okay? The majority, over 50%, rules. So even saving our democracy wouldn't do it if we were a democracy, because right now, Biden supposedly has 39, Trump has 36, and RFK has 22. Last time I did math, okay, yeah, I actually can, okay, none of those numbers are over 50%. So what happens if nobody wins 270 electoral votes? This is where your vote matters, okay, on a local level, and your vote matters, period. But it also causes a huge problem. If nobody gets 270 electoral votes, the House of Representatives picks the president. Each state gets one vote. Okay? That's how it works. You got however many House members you have, each state gets one vote. Whoever gets 26 wins. Right now, the GOP controls the House, okay? And they would, because the new Congress would not be chosen. Okay, the president has to be certified and everything before Congress changes over. All right. So right now, that means that a Republican-controlled House would pick the president. And everybody goes, woohoo, right? Advantage Trump. And maybe not so much. Okay? So here's the other problem. Let's look at what we just went through before Mike Johnson wound up the Speaker of the House. Okay? I mean, it took, 3 weeks? I mean, Kevin McCarthy needed, 15 ballots to get there? We went through, Steve Scalise, Jim Jordan, a couple other guys, and all of a sudden at the 11th hour, they pulled a rabbit out of the hat and wound up with Mike Johnson to pick the Speaker. Can you imagine them going through to pick the president? Okay? That would be a little more difficult. And there's a whole lot of Republicans in Congress who would not pick Trump. So then who do they pick? This is where it gets scary. Do they pick a Mike Pence? He dropped out. Do they pick a Nikki Haley? Do they pick a Ron DeSantis? That's possible, okay? That they may decide, hey, you know what? We don't want all the baggage, if you will, that comes with Trump, and so they compromise there. Who you vote for in your local House of Representatives election means a lot, okay? If you're a small state, Harriet Hageman, okay, she's picking the vote for Wyoming. She's the only one, okay? They have one representative. She's not going to have an argument with herself. She's going to go check. Chances are she'd vote for Trump. But how about the Republicans from California or Texas, Tennessee, or whatever state, where there's multiples that have to beat it out on a state level to say, okay, our state is going to give our vote to this one person. And it's not like they have a whole lot of time. Okay? The election is in the beginning of November. We know by now because of all the mail-in voting and absentee voting and ballot harvesting and every other bullshit reason that the Democrats can come up that people can't go to the polls, that it takes a while to count the votes, especially if it's going to be a close race. Then, of course, you get all the, we're going to go to court. I mean, let's think Bush v. Gore, okay? Some of those, we didn't know who won in 2000 until December. And they've got to seat a president the third week of January. Okay? So they've got to come up with something quick. And when have you ever known Congress to do something quick without a whole bunch of people caving? Right? Try to get 435 people. Mind you, it's going to be half, so it'd be a little more than half. It's 221, I think it is, Republicans that are going to have to, each by state, figure out who's going to be the president. Okay. Then to top that off, not only is the president chosen by the House of Representatives, the vice president is chosen by the Senate. Now, the Senate is currently 51-49 Democrat. So imagine this, because this is a possibility. Let's say for some goofy reason that the House decides Trump's president. The Senate could come back and decide Biden's vice president. He would still be eligible, okay? He hasn't done 8 years in the White House. So you would literally, I know these are all crazy things, but people don't know this is how it works. If RFK takes some of these electoral votes it actually does swing as a positive for who's in the White House, who sets policy, okay, to the Republicans. However, the vice presidency is not going to support the policies, you know that. So we would have a completely dysfunctional 4 years, let alone what goes on in Congress as a whole. I mean, we know how insane things get when we have two parties, one in the House, one in the Senate. Imagine now you have two parties in the executive branch. Okay. But the thing is this, RFK is the spoiler to see how many votes he's going to take from Trump, how many votes he's going to take from Biden. And you hear stories on both sides, and both sides have a good story to tell. Oh, they're going to take a lot from Biden, it'll make it easier for Trump. And the other side will say he's going to take a lot from Trump and make it easier for Biden. Totally get it. And both stories have a lot of rationale and logic behind them. What nobody seems to think about is what if he takes too much from both of them? That's where we could wind up. I know this has nothing to do with prepping, but you know what? A civics lesson every once in a while is important. And if you knew this, more power to you. If you didn't know this, you learned something. But the one advantage that everybody has who watches this is now when your idiot teenager comes home who's waving his Bernie flag still on his car, you can explain it to him. Pinball out.